YouTube, in today's video, I will be helping you pick the correct Apple Watch Series 11 size for your wrist. I have an approximate 6-inch wrist. I do this video every year and it helps so many people. So we're gonna run it back this year again. I own have consistently owned so many Apple Watches throughout the years. Let's see, we can open this up right here. Oh, Ultra, Deluxe, all that stuff. So I've consistently interacted with every single Apple Watch, but the biggest thing you need to know is which size is going to work for you. So let's get into it. So I'll unbox these right here. All right, 42 millimeter right here. Woo, look at that. In all of its glory with a blue sport loop. So let's go ahead and unbox this, get these set up, get them on wrist so you guys can see. And we'll be breaking down the differences between each one, size, measurements, weight, and just overall usability. This joint gonna probably come on as soon as I open it. So we have the space gray 42 millimeter right here to show you guys. Then we have the jet black 46 millimeter right there. Now the sport loops are hands down probably my favorite first party Apple Watch band accessory for this style of Apple Watch, is because it's just so light, so flexible, so adjustable, and it makes wearing a smartwatch so much more pleasant, especially if you're an active user. And even when not active, you can switch up your band and, you know, upscale it if you need to. But 42 millimeter unbox right there. Let's get into the 46 millimeter jet black. You're also gonna wanna know what color you wanna get. At least I'm showing you guys a couple colors in this video, but the biggest decision making is which size to choose. So we have the larger 46 millimeter, and you know, some of the positives to going with the larger screen is, you know, for visuals. So a lot of people out there wear glasses. I myself wear glasses. So a larger screen just makes it easier to consume and see the data on the screen. And that's one of the plus sizes to the larger screen, but it also takes up more, you know, real estate on your wrist. And I'll show you guys that in just a second. Man, Apple is just top tier with their packaging. And again, I have a sport loop for the 46 millimeter. As I stated before, that is my favorite Apple Watch first party watch band. I can't go wrong with that one. I highly recommend it. And especially if you're on the smaller size of wrist, like I am, these are just so ideal for our wrist sizes as they adjust to them very well. And they're very light, and if they get wet, they dry very well. It's just the best multi-purpose, all-purpose band, in my opinion, that Apple sells as a first party. So I have this blue band with the gray body right here. That's the combo I chose for the 42 millimeter. And then we did basically black on black with the 46 millimeter jet black. Look at that. Look at that fit. It's just so nice. So the 42 millimeter is a very nice size watch to wear. All right, so while this pairs, I'll give you guys a visual of the 42 millimeter on my wrist, approximate 6-inch wrist, and it fits very well. A lot of people tend to think that this is like the ideal sizing for the smaller wrist, and I don't disagree, but I also do disagree in the area of screen size and screen real estate, as I personally prefer like larger screens and more screen real estate. But if I'm being honest, this size is a great size for the smaller wrist, and even for a larger wrist, it's still not too small or too crazy. And you know, the Apple Watch has progressively gotten larger and larger year over year. I think they're starting to settle right now at a sweet spot, considering the Apple Watch lineup as a whole. But this is what the 42 millimeter is looking like. All right, 46 millimeter. Let's go ahead and boot this up. Jet black body with the gray sport loop strap. This is a nice combo right here. All right, let's get this on wrist really quick. If you don't know, you wear your watch behind your wrist bone. That's how you properly wear the watch. That's how you're going to get the proper fit and also find the proper size. And as you guys can see, the 46 millimeter, yes, it's a larger watch and it wears bigger on a smaller wrist, as you guys can see, but it still has that screen real estate that I love, visibility, and just overall with these newer design Series 10 and Series 11 super slim watches, they're so much more pleasant to wear all around, especially if you want to do sleep tracking and whatnot. versus like the Apple Watch Ultra and so on by a long shot. So let's go ahead and get this watch paired. So while that connects, let's get some more looks on wrist. This is the 46 millimeter, which is a larger wear. But again, for that larger size watch, for those trade-offs, you take in a larger screen with, you know, better visibility if you're hard of seeing and whatnot. And it is bigger and it is slightly heavier. We'll get into the details in just a second. But for a lot of people, they'll take that trade-off for the larger screen. The smaller 42 millimeter versus the larger 46 millimeter on wrist. As you guys can see. Boom. Proportion wise, the 42 millimeter plays really well with my smaller wrist. Proportion wise, the 46 millimeter, you can kind of say, oh, that watch is, you know, a bit large, but it's not terribly like clunky and crazy in my opinion. But again, though, I wear larger watches. I wear like the Apple Watch Ultra 3, which is even more massive, just for perspective so you guys can see. So it really comes down and boils down to your needs, your personal preference in between these two, as well as the details, the specs, which I'm going to get into next. So let's get into that. Okay, let's get technical about the differences between the 42 millimeter watch series 11 versus the 46 millimeter watch. So the 46 millimeter comes in at 46 millimeters by 39 millimeters by 9.7 millimeters of thickness. And the 42 millimeter comes in at 42 millimeters by 36 millimeters by the exact same 9.7 millimeters of thickness. So there is no difference in thickness. It's just difference in the rectangular square real estate on your wrist. Now, another difference is weight. The 46 millimeter comes in at a heftier 43.1 grams versus the lighter 34.6 grams on the 42 millimeter. So if you're one of those people who aren't favorable of heavier things on your wrist, honestly, wearing both of these, the weight is very balanced. I do notice the lightness of the 42 millimeter in comparison to the 46, as well as I can feel the screen real estate more on my wrist versus the 42 millimeter. So take that as you will. Now, both of these have the exact same IP6X certification. So you're able to submerge up to 50 meters of water resistance with these. So if you want to get active, you want to get your swim on, you can do it with these. And they now have the, you know, dive depth meters on them that were once exclusive to the Apple Watch Ultras and are now on the Series 11, which is really cool. And I think they were on the Series 10 as well. So it's just nice to see that the Apple Watch lineup, whether you choose to go for the more traditional Series 11 setup, or if you want to go for the more in-depth, you know, Apple Watch Ultra, either way, you're still seeing a lot of similarities in between the two. Let's talk about screen. The screen sizing, that's something that I mentioned earlier. Both of these have the Retina LTPO3 OLEDs with 2000 nits of peak brightness. So there's no difference in the quality of screen, right? You guys get great quality of screen. It's a big difference in size, but no difference in the PPI density, which is what I was speaking on earlier. So even if you go with a 42 millimeter, it's going to be just as sharp and as crisp as a 46 millimeter. But the 46 millimeter is a 1.96 inch screen, which has a 496 by 416 pixels with 330 PPI density. Now, the 42 millimeter has a 1.77 inch screen, which has 446 by 374 pixels with the exact same 330 PPI density. So the exact same pixel density in between the two is just about what size do you want on your wrist. Both have sapphire crystal glass. Both are these new wide angle OLEDs that Apple is pushing with them. And both of them look absolutely phenomenal. I wouldn't pick one over the other as far as screen quality goes. As far as screen real estate, you know, let's just look at it. It's not really that bad. The argument of, you know, wanting a bigger screen in order to have better visuals is kind of out the window because of how well the screen resolution is balanced in between the two. You can go with either or and you'll be able to see it just fine. It's just bigger and more pronounced on the 46 millimeter, but the 42 millimeter is still crisp and sharp, and you can see it just as good. So, you know, if you have really, really bad eyes, then you're probably going to want to lean towards the larger, you know what I mean? Because that's what it gives off, is like the larger, you know, visual of the exact same thing. And obviously when it comes to platform, these are exactly the same with watchOS 26 and the new Apple S10 chips, dual core. And, you know, everything is tit for tat between these. When it comes to memory and storage, 64 gigabytes of storage on both of them. So the exact same Apple Watch experience through and through between the two. Even when we get into the connectivity and the Bluetooth 5.3 on both of these, they have the exact same Wi-Fi chips, obviously. Now, when we get to battery, here's how things get interesting with Apple. Bigger battery, but a bigger screen, right? Smaller battery, but a smaller screen. And Apple just balances as up to 24 hours. That's their rating. Now, if you go into the low power mode, that 24 hours extends out to 38 hours. So if you need a lot more battery, switch it into low power mode. But these are definitely watches that you will charge, you know, on a daily. Unless you sleep with it, you're probably gonna sleep with it, wake up in the morning, give it a little top off while you're getting ready to go, and then go about your day, but you should be fine, absolutely. The watch battery, since the Series 10 was improved so well that the regular Apple Watch was just in a new class. I'm gonna update you guys after I use them for a while as well and give you guys an updated review on these, but as far as battery life goes, it's not the deciding factor in between the two, despite what you might perceive, considering, oh, you might think if I get the 46 millimeter, I'm getting more battery versus the 42 millimeter, but no, that's not how Apple has balanced it. It's balanced in the sense that these are up to 24 hours and they extend up to 38 hours on low power mode. But again, battery life is completely subjective to the user. If you use yours lighter than someone else, you're gonna get longer battery. If you do not sleep and do the sleep tracking, if you work out less versus work out more, those are the different things that are gonna impact your battery life. But again, these are the type of smartwatches that you charge typically daily. So charge them daily and you're good to go. But there's no real separating factor from the size perspective, except for personal preference on the screen display size, what you're willing to tolerate on your wrist in comparison to your wrist size, and just your style and your personal, you know, like. So if you like the 46 millimeter, regardless of a small wrist or large wrist, and that's what you want to go with, then that's what you choose. Now, if you are into the 42 millimeter, you like it for the smaller size, you like it for the smaller weight, and you like it for the proportion to a smaller wrist, or you just like the smaller watch, then this is exactly where you go. There's nothing separating these two, really. They're very well balanced. The only difference is what size do you want? What weight do you want on your wrist? How much screen real estate you want on your wrist? What size wrist are you compared to the size watch that you wear? It's as simple as that. For me personally, I know a lot of people are gonna look at this video and you guys are probably gonna say the 42 millimeter is more ideal for my wrist. And I won't lie, I agree. But I would rock a 46 millimeter without a doubt, and I would still be comfortable. I've done it year over year before. I've rocked a lot of the larger watches. Every time the Apple Watch would come out, I would get the larger watch. So for my people out there who are wondering, hey, I have a smaller wrist, can I get away with the larger watch? Yes, you can. And I just want to make that clear. So whether you go 42 millimeter or you go 46 millimeter Apple Watch Series 11, you will not be disappointed. The Apple Watch is the best-selling smartwatch for a reason. It delivers on, you know, your health tracking. It delivers on extending your mobile experience with your smart device. It extends on allowing you to leave your smartwatch behind, especially if you go LTE and so forth. And it just extends your mobile experience. So my name is CJ. I'm the smartwatch guru. I know tech, so you don't have to, but I know you guys know everything. Let me know which size Apple Watch Series 11 you picked. Let me know which size Apple Watch Series 11 you guys think I should pick. Do you guys think I should wear a 42 millimeter on my wrist size? Or do you think it's okay for me to wear a 46 millimeter? Hit the comment section down below. And also there are links down in the description below to some extra watch bands, as well as these very Apple Watches themselves.